Hi, it's me Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe my channel and visit my Patreon page, link in the description. The next day I discovered that my popularity had increased, since most of the kids had tuned in to watch their new schoolmate deliver the news, at least until they grew bored and switched to MTV. I had again chosen to dress up rather than down, but expected that this would be the last time I went all out. For me, tomorrow would be Casual Friday, and I planned to wear jeans and a sweater or shell top. A week after returning to the station, I received a phone call at work from Gilbert, the nephew of Wilt Hathers, the executive vice president of KBXF. Gilbert had once driven me home after Uncle Wilt objected to my working for Nicole's catering company while an employee of the station. Hi, Gilbert. It's nice to talk with you again. How have you been? Great. I've defied Uncle Wilt and opened a small practice here in town. Wonderful, but how does Uncle Wilt feel about it? He was upset at first, but finally came around. I still sit on all the boards, so I'm serving the family while I also get to do something that makes me feel productive. That's great, Gilbert. Congratulations. Thanks, Ashley. How are you doing? Very well. I'm really happy to be back at the station. Congratulations to you. Thanks, Gilbert. The reason I'm calling is because I heard that you're looking for a house. Are you still in the market? Yes, I am. My mom and I made the decision to move here permanently. Good. I was recently retained to help settle the estate of a local resident that passed away just before Thanksgiving. The house hasn't been listed yet because we're still in probate, but I expect that we'll wrap it up this week. What kind of house is it? Wood frame, 2-story with a full basement, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, built around 1980, so it's well insulated. It sits on an acre of land in a nice neighborhood. It sounds great. Well, it could be. The roof is original, and a couple of leaks have developed. Also, the inside needs redecorating. It probably hasn't been painted since it was built. Anything else? Nothing major. The heating system is gas, and they last forever. The hot water tank might need replacing. That's not a problem. Are you interested? What are they asking? The house was assessed at $240,000. It was owned free and clear of any mortgages, and there are no liens. There's an easement along the north edge of the property for a buried telephone line. It's about 10 feet from the road's edge. Will they rent with an option to buy? I don't think so. The family is anxious to settle the estate. One of the kids is in financial straits and needs money badly. He's pressuring his siblings to sell fast. How much are they asking? You'll have to discuss that with them. I represent their interests, so I can't assist you with negotiations. I'm only informing a prospective purchaser about availability in accordance with their wishes to settle quickly. We haven't sold our house in Massachusetts yet. When we do, it'll probably take several months until the transfer is complete and the money is available. I appreciate the information, but if they're not willing to rent with an option, I'm afraid that it wouldn't do any good to even look at it. Can you put anything down? All I have is a little more than $15,000, my college fund from having worked for the summer at the station. You know, I bet Uncle Wilt would be willing to advance you the money for a promissory note, using your house in Massachusetts as collateral. Really? That would be great. Do you want to look at the house? I have the key. I'd love to. When? Tomorrow morning, Saturday at 10? Tomorrow at 10 it is. The address is 61 Sycamore Lane. 61 Sycamore Lane. Got it. Thanks, Gilbert. I'll see you there tomorrow. Okay, Ashley. Take care. I immediately called Mom and told her of the house. Visually, the house was everything that Gilbert had said and more. The roof obviously needed to be replaced, since a number of shingles appeared to be damaged, but the rest of the house seemed to be in good condition, with a few cosmetic problems. We looked for leaks, termite damage, and pest infestation as we examined the house from top to bottom. The basement was dry, and the crawl space attic looked fine except for 2 areas where a little water was leaking in due to the damaged shingles. The wood in those areas still seemed strong, so the damage probably wasn't very old, but as the snow covering the roof melted, the wet areas would probably grow. The only major problem was an extremely strong, persistent odor that had permeated through every part of the house. What smells so awful? Mom had asked when we first entered. I'm afraid the previous owner passed away in the house and wasn't found for a couple of weeks, Gilbert had answered. The bed's mattress was immediately trashed, and the house was aired out as much as possible in this cold weather, but obviously the windows couldn't be left open for long. I haven't been here before, and I wasn't aware that it was as bad as it is. Oh my God, Aunt Sharon said. You never get rid of the smell from a rotting corpse completely unless you paint every single surface in the house. It's probably throughout all the air conditioning ducts, and you'll smell it as soon as you turn the AC on this summer. It's also seeped into every wood or porous surface in the house. You'll smell it for years. Who's empowered to negotiate for the sale? I asked Gilbert. I can bring an offer to the executor of the estate. Have you spoken with Uncle Wilt? Yes, I did. As I surmised, he'll take a promissory note for up to 1 year, using your old house as collateral. Wonderful. I guess the only thing left is to decide if we should make an offer and how much. Mom said it's going to cost probably $10,000 for a new roof and other repairs, and it's going to take at least a couple of years to get rid of the smell completely. Because of the smell, I don't think we should offer more than $180,000. It's a nice house, but there has to be a powerful financial incentive for us to tolerate the smell for years. Would you like me to communicate that amount to the executor? I nodded. Okay. I'll send them an email as soon as I get back to the office. Did you want to see anything else? I looked at Mom, then Aunt Sharon. Both shook their heads. I guess we've seen everything we need to, Gilbert. Thanks so much for taking the time to show us the house. My pleasure, Ashley. 3 days later, Gilbert called to say that the executor was free to dispose of the estate's assets and disperse the funds. He also said that the offer of $180,000 had been accepted by the parties involved. I told them how bad the smell from the corpse is and invited them to come judge for themselves, but they declined. They know that it will cost tens of thousands of dollars to replace the roof and cover the smell, if it's even possible. They opted to take the money and run. Great, I guess. We'll have to try to find some good chemicals that will mask the odor. Since the house was unoccupied, the title had just been searched, and we didn't need to wait for the mortgage department of a bank to complete credit checks and such. We were able to close on the house in 2 weeks. A moving van had come and removed all of the prior owner's possessions after the will was probated for shipment to Florida. Beginning the next day, Mom and Aunt Sharon began spending every day working there during the week, and Lisbeth and I joined them on weekends. Uncle Bob was in San Francisco, Suzanne helped whenever she wasn't on duty at the hospital, and Nicole helped when she could spare a few hours away from her business. We trashed everything of minimal value that was probably harboring the smell, had the carpeting and drapes cleaned by a professional company that specialized in such odors and smoke damage, then began to clean all the walls with a chemical wash recommended by Suzanne. A friend in the hospital morgue had suggested the product to use. When the walls were clean, fresh paint helped to further mask the odor, although we would have to wait until spring to really air the house out. For the time being, we used several commercially available air purifiers. Nicole got us a couple of fragrance dispensers commonly found in restaurants to cover kitchen smells. During the second week of March, the truck arrived with our household possessions and unloaded everything into the house. A comparison of our inventory list showed that 2 boxes were missing, one with kitchenware and the other with books. Mom filed a claim report with the trucking company, using our inventory to determine a value, and we continued with our unpacking. The new house was quite a bit larger than our old house, and we had no problem fitting everything in. Once the furniture was placed, we officially moved in, despite the subtle smell that persisted. We had gotten a larger house than we could otherwise have afforded if the house hadn't had the smell, so we'd live with it until it finally dissipated, in a few years. By the end of March, things were great, except for 2 little problems. 1, I was still avoiding attempts to have me take a physical for insurance purposes, and I was running out of excuses. The bookkeeping folks at the station kept reminding me that my insurance couldn't commence until I completed the physical. And 2nd, the school kept asking for my birth certificate and transcripts so they could complete the paperwork of my enrollment. They said that I wouldn't be credited with completing the 11th grade if they didn't get the necessary papers. Mom had stalled as long as she could, but finally had to call my old school and ask them to forward my transcripts to the new high school. There was still the requirement that I bring in a copy of my birth certificate, but I continued to stall with the excuse that I had to get a new copy because the original had been lost in the move. I knew that as soon as they saw the name on the certificate, questions about my gender would be raised, even if I did have the paper legally changing my name. The boy named Sue excuse wouldn't work with intelligent, educated educators. I had so far been accepted by everyone at the school as a normal high school girl, and I had begun to feel a sense of belonging. Well, maybe I wasn't considered normal because I was on television 5 nights a week, but I felt normal, although as the local television personality, I found that I had to fit everyone's perception of a famous person. I visited the tanning salon at least once a week to keep my tan perfect, and my makeup collection kept growing as merchants pushed free products at me and asked that I endorse their store when talking to friends at school. It seemed that the girls at school looked to me as the local expert for fashion and beauty trends. Mrs. Livingston's boutique had never been as popular as it had become after I began school here and started telling people where I got my clothes. Mrs. Livingston went out of her way to have me wear clothes intended for teenagers, so I wound up with 2 wardrobes each time I visited the store. One wardrobe was the clothes that I'd wear for the broadcasts, and the other was the clothes that I wore each day to school. The kids at school must have thought that I had an unlimited clothing budget. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.